everybody. This is the game day edition with the Flex Network, together again on week 3 with Roster Watch, with an official fly branding for us today. Co-comprised of the Flex Network, we have below at Alan Seslowski, aka Season Long Says. At Alan Seslowski, we call him Szechuan sauce over here because he's got that flavor, and he brings it every Sunday morning for our game day edition, co-comprised with Roster Watch. Also to the box to the left of me, we have Flex Shane at Sealy_Shane. What's going on, brother?
What's up, Matthew? How you doing, brother?
Hey, I'm doing so great today. Of course, another game day edition of the Flex Network X Roster Watch. Together, we want to direct everybody over to Roster Watch. Right now, they're on SiriusXM. They're touting our show, trying to get people in here so that we can do this all together as a family. Joining us in the second hour of the show, we will have Byron Lambert from Roster Watch. Find them at Roster Watch, www.rosterwatch.com. Also, just heavy on the podcast for Roster Watch, guys. I mean,
did you hear it? Did you hear it yesterday? Oh, they had a DFS podcast on yesterday. It was unbelievable. Alex did a lightning round each game and gave the key plays and correlation plays too. And I'm not so great. I'm not really a DFS expert. I'm trying to become one. So it's the correlation plays that he in the podcast that are really useful. So he'll go and he'll say the Giants are playing Tampa. Hey, you should get Saquon Barkley, but also pair that with Jameis and pair that with this. So it's really useful, that podcast that comes out on Saturdays.
Yeah, it's really useful. I mean, for me especially, it's more useful. The podcasts are useful for connecting directly to, I think, what everybody, just hardcore fans, even the beginners, Roster Watch and Alex Dunlap, they do an amazing job of just breaking down things for you to understand and know. The DFS slate, although we're not big into DFS, this is primarily season long.
And Dynasty.
Okay, and Survivor. Okay,
love that. Survivor. I'm telling you, it's
Survivor's the next. Just huge.
It's my favorite game in fantasy because of the enormity of it, the suddenness of it, and the strategy behind it.
So please, guys, go follow at Roster Watch on Twitter. They're helping us here. They're giving us the rub. They think we do a great job, and hopefully we do for all of you guys out there. So good morning on the game day edition. Go follow at Roster Watch and follow us at the Flex Network 1. Manny Fresh, what's going on, brother? Good morning from DFS Army. I think this guy wins some coin. I mean, this guy gets coin. I'm pretty sure. I've seen it. In a flex spot.
What's up, Manny? How you doing, brother?
In a flex spot this weekend, should we go Carlos Hyde or Courtland Sutton?
That's a great question, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's an awesome one. Manny, you always have tough ones. He asked a lot of really smart questions in the Slack chat, and this is just, he must have drafted a killer team because he has all these great options. I don't have half of these options in a lot of my leagues.
Yeah, so what do we think about Carlos Hyde? Really, I don't know that I'm in love with Carlos Hyde.
You don't have to be.
You don't have to be. But as far as Courtland Sutton, Roster Watch, they got a special tool on their website called the DFS Flex Values. Alex Dunlap just makes these maniacal calls to these bookies to get player props for the week. And knowing where Vegas thinks that they're going to be as far as points scored is a good bet to understand house rules. But they got Courtland Sutton against Green Bay as a 3.5 receptions, 47.5 yards with a 200 touchdown odds. So only scoring about 10 points this week. So with an idea that we're getting a 10-pointer out of Courtland Sutton potentially, do we like Carlos Hyde if you got to maybe get an extra 15 points or something to maybe overtake the lead this week?
I mean, go ahead, Al. I was just going to say, I mean, at this point, I think you can pretty much crown Carlos Hyde the lead in that backfield in Houston, right? And I mean, I wouldn't say he's much of a sexier choice than Lamar Miller. It just seems like we can't get anybody in there that we get excited about. But, frankly, I want the floor of the Carlos Hyde touches. I think that he's starting to catch the ball more. Duke Johnson, like while he's there, he's not only the third down back. So in my opinion here, until we see it consistently with Courtland Sutton, I'm taking the lead back in the Houston backfield.
Says?
Yeah, I mean, this is a 50-50 call. I could see the upside and the downside for both. I like Carlos Hyde, but, at any given week, he can get swindled by Duke Johnson in his pass catching ability. I'll probably go Courtland Sutton, as I think that Emmanuel Sanders is definitely Joe Flacco's number one target. He's locked on there, but Courtland Sutton's a big play waiting to happen. And I just, none of us really pinned Courtland Sutton as the guy we were targeting in getting aggressive on in the offseason. I think he's going to be one of our wrong answers when we do a diagnostic of where we went wrong this year. So I would go Courtland Sutton here.
Okay, yep. Both are fantastic answers. Moving on to Ben's 21. Good morning, brother. Real quick, fellas, can you fade the KC game? I know it's crazy, but that rain isn't going to stop. I don't think you could ever fade a KC game. What says has a bet this year on, I think it's over 35.5 touchdowns, correct? For Patrick Mahomes?
Yeah, I need 36 to win.
So how many is that a game on average?
2.65. So like if I get 3 1 week, I can have 2. It's every 2 weeks I need 5.
Every 2 weeks you need 5. So you're not going to fade Kansas City or Patrick Mahomes at all. Essentially, you're betting that we're not fading him all year long with a 2.5 touchdown prop every week for that bet to string out.
Now, I think, rain is not, unless it's like this, like crazy downpour beyond the pale. Usually I think that's an overblown stat or narrative that rain affects the game. It's more wind affects the game. Of course, it may affect it a little bit, but I think a lot of people are going to be thinking to fade this. I think this is a place to go all in on the KC Baltimore game.
Well, it looks like winds are only expected to be about 12 miles per hour. And I think it's right around that 20 to 25 mile per hour point where the winds really start to take an effect on the throwing game. So, yeah, I mean, rain, these guys are pros. They practice in wet weather. I mean, you don't fade this game, man. You just don't do it.
Hey,
don't fade it at all. Go ahead. Yep.
Yeah. Do you remember that snow game with LaShawn McCoy?
Yes.
Do you fade that game when there's 6
unless it's shady?
Yeah.
All right. Let's get on to our next question, guys. As I tune out for just a quick second here, go ahead. So Eddie, is it Elvire? Should he go Allen Robinson or Tyler Boyd against Tre'Davious White? Good question. Says, go ahead. What do you think here?
I think Eddie's got a really nice tie on there. I like that picture, Eddie. That's pretty cool. Allen Robinson or Tyler Boyd. You know what? I think, cornerback matchups sometimes could be a little overrated. I do understand. Who's Chicago playing? They're playing Washington, right? I'd probably go Allen Robinson here. I think I know Mitchell Trubisky's been terrible, but Allen Robinson has played with a poor quarterback before. Do you remember the guy named Blake Bortles?
Oh, I remember that guy. Well, yeah. Yes.
Allen Robinson had a mega monster year when healthy. He's healthy now. These are great options that Eddie has. Oh my God, I wish I had these options. Eddie, congratulations on drafting a monster. I would go Allen Robinson here, but I certainly understand what you're talking about. Go ahead, Shane.
See, I personally, if I had to choose here, Al, I'm going to have to go on the other side with this one again. I would go Tyler Boyd. I mean, I just like the number of targets he's getting. The only thing that would make me sway in favor of Allen Robinson is just the fact that he is playing the Monday night game, and it's always kind of more exciting, right, to have that hammer on Monday night. Just put fear in your opposition. So that would be, in this case, I would defer to Allen Robinson. It's close, man. It's really close.
Yeah, and I can see why. I mean, look, Tyler Boyd is just getting peppered with targets. He's getting force-fed the ball. He's in now a better system that we even could have imagined. We have to like him more than we liked him in the preseason. And there's no wrong answer here. There really is no wrong answer.
And these are really tough questions, which means you guys were obviously using the cheat sheets.
I love Tyler Boyd. I mean, that guy is a dead lock for great production every week with a potential ceiling every week. I mean, there's not a lot of floor ceiling guys out there. Robert Woods comes to mind. Floor ceiling plays to me are just the most fun versus an Allen Robinson. To me, sometimes you're going to get a really crappy Trubisky. and whether or not Allen Robinson's a floor ceiling guy, because he definitely is. When you take into effect the Trubisky, mark on that. Now, Andy Dalton, also not known for being incredible, but Andy Dalton also has been. I mean, he's a good QB. He can make sure he's going to get it there. I just don't know if that's the case with the Mitchell Trubisky says.
Well, what we said earlier was what you just missed for 1 sec was that we said Allen Robinson had an elite wide receiver one season with bad QB play before with Blake Bortles. So he is good enough to overcome that threshold. Now we're seeing Mitch Trubisky play at a level that's even below that threshold, and we still seen Allen Robinson produce. I still like Allen Robinson. I think that Trubisky's not as bad as we're painting him right now, even though he's been playing that way. There's no wrong answer here. And Dalton, like you said, it wasn't too long ago. He was having that MVP caliber discussion that talked about as in that discussion. Great options. I still like Allen Robinson a little bit better.
And here we go. One of our great friends, Andrew Carasquillo, I think is how we decided.
Got it that time.
Yes. And then he goes, I need you guys to come through super clutch this week. And of course, we generally do. We have Zeke, Ertz, Eckler, Chargers / McCaffrey, Ertz, Eckler, Chargers / McCaffrey, Andrews, Eckler, Patriots / McCaffrey, Carson, Ertz, Cowboys on DK for cash. Okay, so for cash, he's essentially saying what is his lineup here? A Zeke, Ertz, Eckler, Okay, so let's suss this out by the defense. What defense are we picking this week for cash? Says
Cowboys. I mean,
Cowboys, right?
Yeah, against Miami, who just can't score points, and then Josh Rosen's getting thrown in there this week. I mean, if their projected total is like 7, so the Cowboys should feast. I mean, based on projections, anything can happen. It's an NFL game, but the Cowboys are the all-in cash play this week. They're the most expensive defense, I think, on the slate.
That's the only thing I was going to say. Like on DraftKings, I believe it's like 4,200 or 4,300 for the Cowboys, where it's about 38, I want to say. I don't have the numbers right in front of me. Maybe I'll pull them up right now. But the only reason I would maybe defer to the Patriots is simply because you get about $400 or $500 in savings, and that can go a long way for some of these other positions.
Yeah. Well, and I think, but if we answered it correctly, the Cowboys are the cash play, then we're automatically saying, Andrew, McCaffrey, Carson, Ertz, Cowboys, because he didn't give us an answer as if the Cowboys weren't the selection. And I like the idea of Chris Carson this week, especially because word around camp is on a light Seahawks practice, Penny hurt his hamstring.
Oh, he's out.
So there you go. I mean, Carson's the dead lock in cash this week. So you got to go McCaffrey, Carson, Ertz, and Cowboys, Andrew. That's the answer for there. We got here, Luda Carson plays. I think, Luda Carson plays. Good morning, brother. Hey, thank you for tuning in. First time. I hate getting burned by game time decisions. Should I fade Andrews just to avoid the stress in DFS?
Well, Andrews is a 1 o'clock. He's a 1 o'clock game. So you won't need to stress it. Like, you won't get burned. I believe that, right? Just double check me on that. But I believe Kansas City.
Yeah, it's one of the early games. Yeah.
So you'll be able to get out of it. I mean, I think a lot of people, and we could already see it by the comments, are fading that game. I would stay with it in DFS, and then just, if you want to do another lineup, but make sure you still stack that game because the ownership levels are going down as the news is becoming less positive.
Well, if we go into the roster watch sheet that Alex puts together, and you look at the DraftKings, the number one value for points scored this week is Mark Andrews in that KC game. So, I mean, like, the Vegas currently has him at 70.5 combined rush plus perception, TD odds of 185, projected scoring at 15.16, which is 3.29 value on DraftKings. I think that if you're going to be fading that guy, you might be sweating regardless if you do the fade.
Okay, so what? Okay, I mean, I love Andrews this week. If anybody caught our Flex Finder podcast that we record live on Friday nights, our Flex Finder podcast, I was ridiculed by Season Long Says, absolutely ridiculed for saying that I would start Mark Andrews in
Wait.
a flex position this
Add
week.
context to that. I ridiculed you because I think he's such a good player and automatic play that he's not even in flex consideration. So we are in principle agreement that he's a great player and a great play. I was ridiculing you because we were looking for some deeper, like either or. He's an
vindication for Matt yesterday on the SiriusXM show for Roster Watch. There was a flex question: Mark Andrews or Frank Gore. It happened.
Right. I mean, just because someone else that called in the show was just as nutless as Matt was yesterday doesn't make it a vindicator.
Oh, that is harsh. That is harsh. Please, guys, go follow at Roster Watch, at the Flex Network 1. And we basically are taking most of these DFS answers. It's strictly from the podcast that Roster Watch produces, where Alex broke down the entire Sunday slate over one podcast by himself. And if you guys are interested in hearing that, go download the podcast. It's a pretty awesome show here. Andrew Carasquillo, I know you're more season long, but he really needed to lock that down, and we nailed it.
Yeah, we don't mind answering those questions. I mean, we have a really good basic acumen that we could apply our skills to to DFS in a way where I think that we're giving sound advice. So I don't think that's out of our wheelhouse at all.
Bins 21 again. Can we plug in Rexy, Frank Gore, Nelson Aguilar, and feel good about leaving money on the table in GPP? Says, go ahead. I might have a different take on this, but yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think, I know there's some differentiating opinions on this, but I like leaving money on the table. I know that there's, when you're playing a DFS lineup, people try to spend every last dollar. Then you start breaking and busting apart your lineup to fit guys in that you didn't even want in the first place. I think sometimes to guarantee, especially in GPP, a unique lineup, leaving a little bit of money on the table. I've left $800 on the table before, and I've landed in the cash zone. It's okay because that guarantees a unique lineup sometimes.
Shane? Now, guys, I can't play DFS where I'm from. Okay, so I really shouldn't even be having a take on this because I just generally not my cup of tea. But go ahead, Shane. You actually play. So what do you think about leaving money on the table in GPP lineup settings?
Oh yeah, in GPP, I mean, like just as Al said, you have to have a diverse lineup if you actually want to cash and win money in GPPs. And, the second that you start swindling, if I change out this guy, then I have to change out 3 other positions just to make your lineups work. If you have 5 guys that you want in your lineup, lock those guys in and then go for the plays that make the most sense. I mean, if you can afford to maybe get go up at, say, defense or something like that, maybe that's where you might want to spend the extra money, but don't go blowing up your lineup if you've got guys that you like to lock in. And I mean, Aguilar, I think this week's going to be very highly owned just because he's so cheap in both platforms. And that might mean you can have money left on the table. But if you can go up and get the Patriots or even the Cowboys defense, then that's where I would pay up. Otherwise, don't be afraid, man. Don't be a Chicken Little.
Don't be a Chicken Little. Follow at Roster Watch. Kevin S. here. He goes, howdy, Canadian Beastie and Mr. Clean. Let us not forget Randy Macho Man Savage. And of course, brothers.
Kevin coming out of hard here.
And he says right here, in a flex, Greg Olsen or Frank Gore, both good options. Frank Gore on the player props for the week is at very near the top. His player prop is 1.5 receptions plus or minus 11.5 yards, but his rushes for yardage is an 82-yard prop, plus 110 to score. But I just think if they're on the goal line, they're going to feed it to Frank Gore. I mean, what do you guys think?
A lot of smart guys like Kevin understand what the player props are all about, but just to back it up for a second, for those who are listening who are new to player props, what we do is we're pulling from rosterwatch.com, we're pulling their player prop list, and this is what Vegas has set the under-overs for, so they're good projectable sort of median outcomes. And what Flex Matt just said was he has about an 82-yard prop. So I do like Frank Gore in the non-full PPR websites. But in the games where you have a PPR, I think that the QB Kyle Allen is really going to rely on Greg Olsen today, because I'm not a Greg Olsen fan. I think that he's always an injury risk in the first quarter, but today is a day where it looks like it could be a good spot for him. This is a great question, but I'm going to defer in the PPR to Greg Olsen, and in the half or non-PPR to Frank Gore.
Shane, what do you think about that?
Yeah, no, I would go with Frank Gore in this case. I mean, the fact that he's going to be the lead, you just got to go with the old man.
They're both old men.
Well, I'll go with the really old man.
He says, thanks, guys. Haven't looked at the list. Was just working off gut, but need to look at all those. It's PPR, and says thank you again. So thanks, Kevin. Appreciate your time today and this morning on the game day edition of the Flex Network. Right now, our friends on SiriusXM right now at Roster Watch. They're there on their 1 hour show. Byron Lambert will be joining us again near the second hour of the show. And we also have a very special guest that will be joining me in studio, part of the Roster Watch Nation, Andrew Carasquillo. Again, here you are, brother. Mahomes or Jackson, if you have both. Says, if you have both.
There's never a situation where you're not starting Mahomes.
That's true. Yeah, that's a solid truth there. Yeah. I mean, Jackson's looking phenomenal on the season so far. Amazing.
But this is a home game for Mahomes. The guy just looks like he looks like a supercharged version of peak Aaron Rodgers. I think that I know this is a crazy statement, but when it's all said and done, I could see us having a conversation where we're talking about the Mount Rushmore of QBs, the 4 best of all time, and Mahomes is going to be in that conversation. It's in play, in the range of outcomes. So just what I'm witnessing on a week in and week out basis, that to me is where we're headed with this thing. I don't want to jump the gun, but like I said, you play Mahomes, you have him, you play him. Doesn't matter the situation.
Smoke him if you got him, Andrew. Smoke him if you got him. Sean Crosby, good morning, brother. Thank you for tuning in. Rex Burkhead or John Ross for a flex spot. He could also go Mike Williams, but he's nervous about the matchup for Williams. Shane, what are you thinking here?
Oh, I would go nuclear and take John Ross, man. He's looked good. They're getting him usage. I've got the roster watch snap counts, targets, and touches. John Ross was on the field for 86% of snaps last week, 8 targets, 4 touches. 112 yards and 1 touchdown. What I like about this in particular, though, is the fact that they're not just getting John Ross on like the deep balls, right? They're giving him those high percentage, like Odell Beckham type slants, and they're just trying to get the ball in his hand to help him make a play because he's a playmaker. So I love John Ross this week. I love John Ross this season, frankly.
Now says, hold on, we got news this morning. It seems like James White is out of the game due to his wife giving birth. Does that tilt the tide at all to a sexy Rexy? Last week I thought high on a Rex Burkhead play last week in the flex spot for our flex finder, but Burkhead kind of, the game plan was likely going to Antonio Brown all game anyway, just to shut the haters up. So they did, but this week is not the same sentiment. We have Rex Burkhead as the number 2 running back on the day today over a John Ross in a flex going over Mike Williams. I'm just saying, do you look a little bit more towards Rex Burkhead knowing the James White news?
No, that's a great point. I think that's something that a lot of people aren't thinking about. That Rex Burkhead, when he came to the Patriots, everyone was really excited about his pass catching ability for fantasy. I think he's going to be low owned. I don't think there's going to be a ton of people on him. I could be mistaken. Maybe I'm living inside a bubble, but I think that's a really smart play. Just based, I was in agreement with Shane a minute ago thinking about John Ross because he's just been so amazing. And I don't think there's one of these where it's no wrong answer, but wow, what a sneaky play to go to Rex Burkhead. I really like that. In between the next, call, I have a start sit that I would like to ask, and if anyone wants to comment, and I need some help on it too. I'm good at answering these, except for when it's my own.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so should we just rock this right here and see what happens?
Yeah, I have 2, but I'll just start with one. I'll give another one later in the program, but this one, I need help, everybody. I'm in a super flex league, and I have to start either Kyle Allen or Daniel Jones, and I'm really kind of, I need a QB. My other QB already played. It's Mariota. So in my super flex spot, it's got to be Carolina Panthers starter Kyle Allen, and the idea, the word out of Carolina camp was they're going to start throwing vertical now that they have a QB that actually doesn't have a busted up shoulder. And then Daniel Jones, who knows? I think I'm in the camp where I've always thought Daniel Jones was going to be good, or at least not as bad as everyone thought he's going to be, which I never understood that narrative. But who the hell should I start? Do you guys have an opinion on that?
Before we let's preface this by saying, is this against me this week, Al? In which case, I don't think I can give an answer.
Well, okay, all right, fair enough. Okay, yeah, that's true. I forgot it is against you.
That's all right. I can forgive my answer.
Sean Crosby, thank you, brother. Please continue with your start sits, guys. We are here to rock and roll. Byron Lambert will be joining us from Roster Watch there on Sirius XM right now. Please feed in your questions. We're happy to answer them. Adam Roy here, Mahomes versus Jackson. We just answered that a second ago.
My boy Roy.
Yeah, that's your boy Roy, is what
boy.
they call him. Hey, yep, we got to smoke him if you got him. Mahomes 100%. But it showed how strong you were, sir, that you went ahead and drafted Lamar Jackson near the end of your draft just to flex. And that is a solid flex this year. Also, if you drafted Dak Prescott near the end of your drafts, also a flex right now. Tough QB decisions if you've got Patrick Mahomes, but please smoke him if you got him. Patrick Mahomes, let's do it. Says I forgot your question. Your question was Kyle Allen, right?
Or Daniel Jones.
And for me, it's Daniel Jones. Superflex, It's got to be Daniel Jones. I mean, mainly because you're excited about what you saw in the preseason. It seems like he does have a decent command over that offense, and that offense is just waiting to break out. I mean, that's what it needs. That's what it's been needing. Now, if they had a Daniel Jones that they could throw in that could actually prove some electricity, maybe Odell would have never had to leave. Maybe they could have won a championship. Who knows? But I think right here says you got to go Daniel Jones. Isn't that right, Shane?
I would have to go with Daniel Jones too. I mean, in the preseason, to your point, he looked fantastic. I think that's, it was really only a matter of time before they started playing him over Eli, just because he looks fresh, man. Like, he looks good, and you can trust him against Arizona. It's going to be the battle of the rooks. I like it.
I love that. Yeah. The comment, I love Jones. I'm an NYG fan. That's right. You enjoy it. Enjoy your team, brothers. Mike, our friend Mike here, give me Kyle Allen in a pace-up game. Hey, buddy. He's not on the plane today, but he's here on our plane that we're driving right into game day. This is the game day edition of the Flex Network with your start sits. Let's get right into Philip Giles, our friend. He has Godwin, Hollywood Brown, or Josh Gordon in standard.
Oh, my goodness.
And Godwin is a clear and away winner here. For me, says.
Totally agree. And the reason being, I mean, even the DFS sites have priced Godwin now over Mike Evans. I mean, that might be an extreme switch. Who knows? But nonetheless, the market is high on Godwin. Hollywood Browns look great. Again, it's still a rookie. There's some questions there. We'll continue. Josh Gordon certainly in a plus position with no Antonio Brown today, but how do you not go with the God?
Win. God plus win, baby. God plus win.
God for the win.
_Shane. What do you think here, brother? God plus win, or should we go?
You know what? Yeah, you got to go with Godwin here. I mean, again, going back to the snap counts, touches, and targets. 9 targets last week. 8 touches, 121 yards, 1 touchdown, 95% snap share. I think they're going to want to go to him. He's high percentage. He can catch the long bomb. Go with Godwin.
Not only is he expensive, but even on Roster Watch's flex values, he still has a decently high over-under or a decently high value for even what his price is. We got Kevin S. back in here. Pick 2 of these, full point PPR, Will Fuller, Devin Smith, or Cortland Sutton. And he even had to say Devin Smith, he's a Dallas wide receiver, in case you wouldn't know. Well, if you followed our Flex Finder podcast on Friday night, he was Hoodie Matt's deep flex play on Friday night. I'm in love with Devin Smith this week for a touchdown, no matter what. But I'm not in love with Will Fuller anymore. I was not enamored with him when the season started. You know, I was way higher on Kiki QT. You know, the Stills trade kind of shocked me a little bit because I just felt like they were set there. They didn't need a Stills. I felt like they probably could have got somebody else. But I know, Shane, you've always been high on Stills, or just the idea of the Houston Texan wide receiver group. What do you got to say about this here?
Yeah, for me, I love the Houston wide receiver group. Kiki was always our guy in the offseason. When he got hurt in that preseason game and they go and get Kenny Stills, it's kind of just like a dagger to the heart. But in this case, I mean, Will Fuller is still the de facto number 2 in this offense. You can book him for a long reception, possibly for a touchdown. He's getting the snaps. Last week, he got 7 targets, and I think you got to go with Will Fuller here. And then it's a matter of Smith or Sutton. And, going back to the fact that Sutton can just break out and just go beast any given week. The fact that Devin Smith hasn't done it yet, and he's 27, 28 years old, I say go with the young guy, go with Courtland Sutton, and he's going to be more reliable for you.
I think this is tougher than I think people are just writing Devin Smith off this week. I just think that's a bad deal. I think Dak wants to run the score up. I think Dak wants to continue to prove that he's deserving of a contract higher than Russell Wilson's, even without a Super Bowl. I just think Devin Smith this week, potentially. I mean, Shane, if you want to pull up his profile here, his metric profile, just to remind everybody the beast that this guy was coming out of Ohio State says. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I just think I like Devin Smith, and maybe not as much as you do, but I think that the only problem with him was that he was just been injured a lot. And, he got injured the year he was drafted. I think he was injured a couple more years after that. And I think that was really the issue. There's no question about the talent. I mean, you saw it on the long touchdown catch. And the long touchdown catch came when Michael Gallup was still healthy and in the game. So they were already trying to work Devin Smith in the game before the Gallup injury. This only bodes well for Devin Smith prospects for today. I mean, he's going to be heavily involved in the game plan today.
It's not a matter of do we like Devin Smith this week or not? It's a matter of do you like him better than Will Fuller or Courtland Sutton?
Yeah,
I like him better than Fuller. I like him better than Fuller.
No, Sutton I like better. Sutton, to me, I think that I was totally off, and we talked about this earlier. I was totally off Sutton in the offseason. I was actually fading him, but he's one of the ones that I was wrong about. I'm watching him play. He looks like a real NFL wide receiver, and exactly the prototypical fast, speed, size. So I like him a lot, and I think he's only going to get better every week. And Joe Flacco seems to trust him; he keeps throwing him the ball.
So basically, let's say this: if you really, Kevin, if you're down 15 points on the week already, go Devin Smith. If it's closer, go Will Fuller. I think that's the play there. Andrew Carasquillo, again, here we go, brother. Sorry, I missed this one. Josh Jacobs or Marlon Mack, 2 questionable running backs this week. Obviously, if we find out that Oakland's not going to play Jacobs, I mean, because right now there's a deep word in the community of Oakland that Jacobs is really not doing too good right now. Apparently, he's lost 10 pounds. That's what some of the reports are. I mean, I think he's sick. He might have kissed Sam Darnold. He might have kissed Sam Darnold. Okay, he might have mono. This guy.
Too soon.
Soon with the mono reference?
Too soon.
And is it for sure that he's playing? Because they're both early games, so we'll have the active reports.
I saw on the NFL Network that he was likely to play. And unless that's changed in the last hour, I think he's likely to play.
Okay. I mean, they'll give him IVs, they'll hydrate him, right? So I think that's, he'll be okay if he's playing in the game.
Now, Marlon Mack going against Atlanta, a 13th ranked matchup on the roster watch matchup tool on the week. Do we like Marlon Mack? I think we always like Marlon Mack. He's a pretty good, solid floor play. So do you think that it would be a floor versus ceiling play again? Hey, if you needed to absolutely dominate your week this week, potentially go Jacobs. But if you just need a solid 12 to 15 points, and move on with your other ceiling plays. Are we in agreement that way, guys?
Good.
Yeah, no, I'd be okay with that. I mean, the reality is they're still not throwing Marlon Mack the damn ball, which is so frustrating because I think that he can't actually catch the ball. But to me, it's Josh Jacobs. Every week he seems to be producing, and he's more of a reliable guy in that backfield, I'd say. So if Jacobs is playing, I would play Jacobs. I don't know. This is going to be a tough matchup choice for you every single week because I'm assuming you've probably got like a stud as your running back one. So this is either like your flex play or your RB2 play. It's going to be a tough decision every single week.
Says Jacobs.
Mack is a little banged up. I mean, he was questionable coming in. They said he's likely to play.
They're both got something about him this week.
Right, but here's the difference: is that Jacobs, had some sort of bug where he was, who knows, maybe it was diarrhea, maybe he's throwing up. Who knows? He said he lost some weight.
10 pounds.
Yeah, but I think adrenaline kind of can overcome like that. I know, like when I've been sick and I've been forced into an adrenaline situation, especially NFL, you can kind of get past that. You feel better during the day. You play. Mac is the calf thing. The calf thing is scary to me because that can aggravate at any point. In this particular situation, if I'm choosing between ailments, I like Jacobs. I just think that we could, you could have the first quarter injury swindle with Mac. That scares me more than any sort of flu with Jacobs.
All right, so let's just go Jacobs there. So we got Philip Giles, right on, God for the win. Yes, referencing the previous Godwin. Donald Laster, should I start Landry, Fuller, or T. Williams? I'm loving T. Williams this week, assuming that it's all targets up for him in health. I mean, geez, you're going to have to score 4 touchdowns to beat you're going to have to actually beat Minnesota through the air if you're going to win, because I just seem to think that Minnesota's run defense is a lot more stiffer than people give it credit for right now, especially based on the season. But I think through the air, as long as he can move across the line of scrimmage and bounce off the stiff corner that we want to avoid over there, I like Williams this week. What do you think, guys? No,
I'm on board 100%. 100% Williams.
Says, what do you think?
Now, Williams came in with a hip issue. What I was doing right now was trying to check to see where that was at. He was banged up for a good part of the week. I mean, everything you said, if healthy, is fine. Jarvis Landry, he does not a really good match with Baker Mayfield so far. He likes a lot of underneath stuff. Baker Mayfield, I mean, I love it for fantasy. He likes to throw downfield. Tyrell Williams, if healthy, is the great play. And I know that we talked about Tyrell in the offseason. We do like him a lot, and it's only come to the chickens who come home to roost here. But if healthy, Tyrell is the call.
Yeah, and what do you think about Njoku just completely being out of the game plan now, being on IR? Don't you think that opens up the across the field or the shorter routes for Landry if Landry is going to be able to secure that production? What do you think, Says?
Yeah, I mean, that's a really great point. Well, especially in the red zone, we talked about it a couple times that Njoku with the scouts my friends that go there and take a look at the practices said all those short passes in the end zone in Brown's practice were going to Njoku. He was only getting a handful of targets, so on a pure volume play, I don't think that it's going to make much of a difference between his 3 and 5 targets. But yeah, I mean, what you just said actually opened my eyes to the Landry could be replacing that production, and who knows when they get down to the end zone, that could be a few more targets his way too. Jarvis Landry is a bully, and for some reason he's being phased out. But so far, Tyrell Williams has proved that he's a top 24 wide receiver.
I would say you got to
swindle.
No, I mean maybe down the line. I don't know if today's that day, but I would just say that I think it's maybe a little bit closer than we're letting on, just as far as a potential game script. Also, I mean, we know Jarvis Landry to be a 3-catch guy and then a 10-catch guy, and then maybe a 2-catch guy and then a 7-catch guy. So, it's just a matter of time before Landry shows out on a 10-catch, 120 yards and a touch, and that could be this week potentially. That's
the thing. To your point, though, it's like it's going to happen. We just don't know when it's going to happen. So it's more of a gamble on a week-to-week basis. And in all of our fantasy leagues, it's head-to-head matchups, which means you need more of the consistent plays.
Hey,
that's why I worry.
I got it. So if there's a lull in the questions right now, I have a question for you guys. Not a start sit, but is there something that?
We got questions. I'm waiting to put them on here.
Okay, all right. Then I'll come back to it. If there's ever just a short lull, just let me know because I have a question for you. Then the same question when Byron Lambert from Roster Watch comes on, I want to ask him this same question. So let's just keep going. Let's take care of the people first.
Andrew, again, my friend here. Choose any two: T.Y. Mike Williams, Terry McLaurin, John Ross, DK Metcalf. In the Roster Watch matchup tool, we have Indy against Atlanta, which is a 23 worst matchup for wide receivers. But Hilton, to me, is kind of an every week starter. I mean, if I've got to choose between, some guys in Hilton who I mean, although I don't love Hilton, he's pretty much a bet for a touchdown a week, which I don't know on these other guys sometimes. I mean, especially a DK Metcalf, I really just cannot tell what type of production that guy's going to get. So he's out of here. John Ross, to me, I know you guys like him. I don't know that I love him this week, but I just need to continue to see it, is what I'm saying. I just want to see it some more. I don't want to buy into it and then feel like I'm falling on my face. And so for that reason right there, Scary Terry and John Ross are just issues for me. So, I need you guys to help. Exactly. And that doesn't smell good. That smells putrid. And then you got Mike Williams going against Houston, which is the 22nd matchup. So man, these are tough ones, Shane. Who do you got?
Like Phillip Rivers is going after his guy, Keenan Allen. So that worries me a little bit about Mike Williams. I mean, he's regressing compared to last year, which I think was expected. To me, who's the best wide receiver on the board there? It's T.Y. Hilton.
So that's one. That's
definitely
one.
T.Y. Hilton because you got to play it. I mean, it worries me a little bit, just the fact that he's becoming so touchdown dependent. But he's still the best guy on that team, so I would play T.Y. Hilton. And then my second option would be John Ross. Just going back to the fact that he's getting peppered every single week. I mean, he's just compared to the other guys. Terry McLaurin, we freaking love that guy, but not against the Chicago Bears. DK Metcalf just isn't doing it as consistently week to week. John Ross, year 3, I think he's broken out, guys. I would go Hilton and Ross.
Hilton and Ross says yes.
Yeah, I mean, Hilton, like I said, he relies a little bit more on the long ball to score touchdowns. He's not real when they get inside the red zone. He's not a typical where he hasn't been throughout his career of the wide receiver they look for. Like last week, you saw Paris Hilton caught the short.
Paris Hilton.
I said Paris Hilton. Sorry, we're talking about Hilton and Paris Campbell. Sorry,
yeah,
that was a Freudian
slip. There you go.
Thank you for getting it. So yeah, Paris Campbell caught the. I'm still laughing.
A Paris Hilton reference here. Whoa!
All our worlds coming.
I'm surprised we haven't heard more of that. Like when he was first drafted, actually, Roster Watch was there live, and they were talking about that. It was hilarious. But
what about this from Kevin? Pick 2 out of the 3: Prince, Elvis, or Phil Collins. 2 out of the 3.
Phil Collins and I hate Prince. I
respect the game, but I mean, give me fucking Elvis and Phil Collins. He's the king, right?
Prince is I have certain groups. It's automatic turn off. Prince, again, everyone loves him. One of those that I just cannot stand. I like Elvis and Phil Collins, but Prince is talented. I'll give him that.
Hey, give me the Charlie Murphy rendition of Prince over all day long. Wentz or Winston, Phillip Giles. Winston with a good matchup this week. It might be the week for Tampa Bay to get out there and get after it. But what do we think here? Carson Wentz or Jameis Winston says?
In our Friday night Flex Finder pod, I flexed on Winston. I think that this is a get right week for him. It's a great setup against the very terrible New York Giants defense. I think that just when you forgot about all of your Tampa Bay Buccaneers not named the God, I think Mike Evans, it comes back today. I think there's a decent chance we see a rebound from OJ Howard, and I'd be willing to make the bet on Jameis Winston over Wentz today.
What do you think, Shane?
No, I absolutely agree with that. I mean, he's playing the putrid Giants, which is obviously a check in the right box there. But also Carson Wentz is missing some of his guys, right? I mean, Alshon Jeffrey, how's he looking? Is it yesterday? It was still pretty unclear. He's out. They're out. Okay, so he's missing Deshaun Jackson and Alshon Jeffrey
and Goddard.
And Dallas Goedert's out as well. There you go. So Jameis Winston for me. Let's do it.
Jameis, let's do it. Kevin S. I heart you guys. Thanks. Yes, Kevin. Yes.
How do you do it?
And
how do you young guys do that? There you go.
Kevin also asked, do we have a Facebook page and Instagram? With no Instagram, but we do have a Facebook page. I believe it's Flex Network on.
You know what? I was Instagramming out the link. We need to put up an Instagram. We're going to get that done this week. We need an Instagram page.
We're going to do that. Mike, our friend, tough one, Standard League, Courtland Sutton or Deebo Samuel. He's got Deebo in right now, but I'm going to go Deebo Samuel. Again, looking at Roster Watch's DFS Flex Values tool, they have Courtland Sutton as a pretty like soft play on the week. So, what do you think, Shane?
Well, Courtland Sutton currently is set for 3.5 receptions, 47.5 yards, with plus 200 odds to score a touchdown. I love Deebo Samuel so much. He's got, actually it's quite similar. He's set for 43.5 with 200. So it's pretty darn close for both. I like Deebo. He's the number one in that offense behind George Kittle right now. So I'd go Deebo.
Deebo says Deebo or Debro this week?
Dog Deebo.
I actually think that the better bet is Courtland Sutton. Of course, I love the upside of Deebo Samuel, but it isn't. It's
a standard league. It's a standard league.
I don't think that.
I love Deebo this week, standard or PPR. He's the number one receiver in that offense.
Yeah, I mean George Kittle is ready to bust out too. Marquise Goodwin certainly takes the long ball. Again, I mean I like Deebo, but given the Courtland Sutton, I'm real, as you can tell, I've really done a 180 on Sutton because I was fading him. Courtland Sutton, I have him as a top 20 receiver this week. I really do like him a lot. And I know they're going against a tough Green Bay defense, who I think is definitely one of the better defenses in the league. And we'll know by week 5 if they are one of the elite, which I think they are. I think that, I'm going Sutton here, but I certainly respect the Deebo call.
The D-bro call. Here we go. Kyle Doran, Lamar or Kyle. Kyler. Sorry, Kyle is saying the question with Kyler as an option or Lamar Jackson says. I think it's got to be wheels up for Lamar this week. I mean, he has a lot to prove this week going against another just incredible young quarterback. It is the 10th matchup for opposing wide receivers against Kansas City this week based on the Roster Watch matchup tool. I got to say we got to go Lamar Jackson here. What do you think?
Oh, man, I would go Lamar. Lamar for sure.
Yeah, and these are all close calls, and Lamar Jackson is won your fantasy. If you have him, you've won. He's won weeks for you, like single-handedly with his 40+ fantasy points or 37 fantasy points. I know it's hard to believe because he was like the QB 15, but you were listening to our Bold Call podcast likely, and you heard our Bold Call. The Flex Network's Bold Call was Lamar Jackson will finish as the QB 1, and so far we are going to take. That is happening. Now, do we think it will last? I don't know. Patrick Mahomes is looking like the GOAT, and I just think that we need to play Lamar Jackson every week until he disappoints us.
Every week. I just feel like there is going to be one week, though, where he hits a complete wall, just like a train just smashing into a wall, brick wall, and we're going to see it. But again, like you said, until we do.
Yeah, but here's the thing. This is why Lamar Jackson is so a different animal too for fantasy, because even a bad week, like all QBs, most QBs have bad weeks. Okay, they'll have that 12-point, 9-point week. It does happen, but take Patrick Mahomes out of this conversation for a second. Okay, Lamar Jackson, on the weeks where it's just not happening in the passing game for him, he is going to run for 50, 60, 70 yards. And you're not going to walk out of a fantasy game with him with less than 15 points. He's the rare high floor, high ceiling. People last year when he came in like week 9 or 10 and he was a little inept as a passer, he still was coming out of those games with 17 fantasy points. He could do it with his legs. He could do it with his arm. I don't think we're going to see a crash and burn for him at all. You play Lamar Jackson.
That is the word spoken from at Season Long Says. Just joking. It's at Alan Seslowski. Hashtag Season Long Says. That is the word. Lamar Jackson. Follow us. Follow at Roster Watch. We are here on our game day edition of our Start Sits. Manny Fresh back again with an ESPN League. James Washington or Marquez Valdez.
An ESPN League? Manny, just the pertinent information, man. Come on. What do we need to know it's an ESPN League for?
Maybe it's like
or something? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's no tight end premium on ESPN, but there's not a tight end in the question here.
Is ESPN paying Manny? I mean, don't advertise for them. Ask them for money if you're going to tell us it's an ESPN League.
Oh, man. Okay, well, James Washington with his college quarterback officially at the helm. How much of an uptick do you think that this gives James Washington moving forward? Or do we go with the Aaron Rodgers offense to Valdez Scantling? It is a decent question. And James Washington, I think if any week is going to be indicative of his success, it's probably going to be this week. What do we think?
He was the preseason GOAT, man, playing with his boy Mason. Like, James Washington all the way here. I mean, I don't look. I didn't totally buy MVS coming in this year. I know that he's obviously in the Green Bay offense, but until he does it consistently every single week, I don't totally buy in MVS. In which case, you've got two kind of question marks here. You might as well go with James Washington, who at least showed it consistently in the preseason, as well as he's got that history going back to college with Mason Rudolph. I think you got to go James Washington.
Hey guys, I was offered. I own Manny Sanders in Dynasty, and somebody offered me James Washington for him. Would you have taken that deal? I don't want to tell you what I did. So I owned Manny Sanders, and someone said, "Hey, I like Manny Sanders. He's the wide receiver 8 on the season so far. He was going for the ship. My team's a little bit more middle of the road. Offered me James Washington straight up."
And was this recently?
It was last week.
Last week. Well, I think the arrow's pointed up for James Washington, right? I mean, it's a matter of if you think you can win this year, you got to stick with Sanders just because he's fucking balling out. Excuse my French, but man, James Washington. I mean, I just saw a sleeper update saying that Ben Roethlisberger is not going to have Tommy John surgery and that it's expected to be back in 2020, which means we might not get the entire season that we initially thought. But for the immediate future, James Washington is going to be playing. And I think he's going to be in those 3 wide receiver sets. And I would do it for the future.
French Canadian, he is. French Canadian.
So you do it. And Matt, what would you do? Would you take Washington or Manny or Manny Sanders in Dynasty if you figured you were, I'm 0-2 in that Dynasty league?
You got to take James Washington. You always got to take the younger guy in Dynasty, especially if you're not winning this year. Yeah. So whenever you can solidify your assets down to down to young and youth, even over, hey, I might get an extra 5 points this week, based off having a guy that might not even play next year. One more trip and he'll break his entire leg in half and he'll be out forever. And of course that's going to happen the second you decline the trade, and so I just don't like that juju coming back on me. So I'm always going to take the younger, healthier stallion with his college quarterback. So we're going to go James Washington this week. Both are terrible options, honestly. If you got to decide between these two, maybe you've been already hit with injuries, but we appreciate the question, guys. We got a couple more coming through here, guys. I'm going to get to it. I promise. We have Byron Lambert from Roster Watch joining us here in likely about 10 minutes. He'll hop on here and he'll join us. Also, I have a special guest.
Sorry, guys. I thought I was muted. Muted.
You're not muted.
Sorry, guys. Sorry.
Oh my gosh.
Sorry.
Here we go. Here we go. We're strapping
off the
back
rails already, man.
Off of the rails. We're strapping back.
I'm trying to practice my professional broadcasting. I think that was a step in the right direction.
No, it was not. D Yanks 13. Good morning, brother. Thank you. This is the first time I've ever seen your question, so thank you so much, man. I appreciate you joining us. PPR flex spot this week, Kirk or Shady McCoy?
Shady,
this is the big one. This is a good one.
Did you see the Shady, the thing that's going on Twitter right now? That's what I'm doing. When I'm looking down, I'm checking all updates because there's constantly news coming in. Shady was limping into the stadium today. Yeah, I mean, he was already questionable, Shady, to play today, and they said he was going to give it a go, but they showed video of him, and he's doing one of these things, like walking into the stadium. I have him in a DFS lineup. I think people are going to fade him, but I would be really careful and just right up to the last minute. He could be scratched literally the last minute. Now, if they were both healthy, Shady is the obvious call here, but I understand why you're asking the question. I would, even though I'm not a Kirk guy, I probably would go him because I'm real nervous about Shady's leg today.
Oh, and guess who is a Kirk guy? Sealy_Shane. Go ahead, brother. What do you got? What do you got here?
God, I was leaning towards Shady just because the reports yesterday was that he's going to get probably 70% of the touches. But man, you get that first or second touch in the game and he's out for the rest, and you get the zero burger or like the 1 point. Go Christian Kirk, man. I mean, he's getting more.
Go Christian Kirk. Yes, baby. Christian Kirk this week. He's flex hard. Kyler Murray is not only targeting Christian Kirk, but he is becoming more and more efficient. Obviously, the first week Kyler was getting comfortable, just laying it into Larry Fitzgerald. But the last 2 weeks, there have been high targets, high touches for Christian Kirk, just completely waiting and on the burgeoning cusp of a just absolute freak nasty. And go Christian Kirk. Ryan Kenya, good morning, brother. Thank you. First question I'm seeing from you, Josh Allen or Russell Wilson? Man, I don't like Russell Wilson this week against the Saints defense. It's going to be a cold, rainy game. Just to let you guys know, I'm going to be tapping out here after the show and right into CenturyLink Field, where I will be attending the Seahawks game with a maniacal member of Roster Watch Nation who I met through Roster Watch. And I have a very special guest coming onto the podcast here in just a few short minutes. We have Byron Lambert and the maniacal members of Roster Watch Nation. So good morning, everybody. This is the game day edition. We're going Josh Allen this week over Russell Wilson. I think it's a pretty clear and cut away that it's time for Josh Allen to continue what he's doing, start cementing his legacy. We're going against Cincinnati here, 13th best matchup for opposing wide receivers, 10th best matchup for opposing quarterbacks on the year, as said by @RosterWatch. Follow them at rosterwatch.com. And follow the podcast. Alex Dunlap did a single podcast about the whole entire Sunday's DFS slate. If you guys had watched this and listened to it, if you'd listened to it, you guys would see some of the crazy takes that Alex has about how you're going to win this week and flex. That's why we are here. We are the Flex Network on this game day edition of your start sits. As you guys get coming over from the SiriusXM show, I'm going to tap out and get my nation member here. Shane, if you could follow up with the questions here, I'll be back in just a second.
Got it, buddy. All right, so we got Nelson Agholor or Marvin Williams, Mike Williams, I'm guessing, or is it Marvin Jones?
He probably will answer both.
Sure. All right.
So if it was Marvin Jones, Agholor and Marvin Jones, we've talked about. Oh, that's Eric Royal. That's Wink. What's up, Wink? That's my guy, Wink.
What's up?
So that Marv that is a weird question, right? Because of Marvin Williams. If he means Mike Williams, I think you got to go Mike Williams. I really like his touchdown upside. Agholor looked really good, and I don't know, man. His hands scare me, but he is going to get the targets today. What say you, Shane?
He's going to get the targets, but don't you think this is going to be an Ertz game, or maybe this is going to be the game where Miles Sanders finally freaking breaks out? Like, look, I've got Nelson Agholor in a dynasty league, and he's in my lineup this week just because I got to play the odds. But can't you just see him getting like one reception for like 8 yards or something stupid like that? Like, how often has Nelson Agholor been so highly just touted, and then he comes in and just absolutely puts up a dud? Whereas Mike Williams is pretty damn consistent.
I mean, Nelson Agholor is the de facto wide receiver 1 today, though. That is, and Carson Wentz does trust him. He'll go to him. Sure. Is there a complete downside, a floor of 0? Absolutely. I like Mike Williams. If he is talking about Mike Williams, He's talking about Marvin Jones. I mean, mostly the same. Marvin Jones is a pretty safe floor player at this point. Matt Stafford's having a good year. I'm good. I mean, there's no right, there's no wrong decision here. But I would go Mike Williams if that's indeed who he's talking about, and I would certainly go Marvin Jones if that's what he's talking about. But
against Philly,
yeah, absolutely.
In Philly, does that make a difference?
I don't think so. I think that these you always want to have your team at home. That's great, but the Chargers are home too, aren't they?
Yeah, I believe they are this week. Yeah, against Houston. So it's tough here, but I'd go Mike Williams.
Going back to the guy who asked about Josh Allen as well. Josh Allen, remember over the last 6 weeks of the season last year, finished as the QB1, the best player in fantasy. Josh Allen is for fantasy. I mean, you may not like his hair on fire style of QB play. I mean, it's crazy when you watch them play, and you've never seen anyone quarterback like this. But for fantasy, this is just unbelievable to watch. I think he's a good quarterback in a sense. It's great for fantasy. I'm actually faced with the decision when Byron comes on. I want to ask his opinion on it. Josh Allen versus Aaron Rodgers. I'm benching Aaron Rodgers today, who's not had a good start to the season. Well,
and Cincinnati has allowed those long balls. So can't you see like an Allen to Smokey Brown long touchdown? Boom, get on the board right away. Immediately you're sitting with your floor of like 8-9 points immediately to start the game. I like that.
Yeah, no, Josh Allen is, just because he's a non-conventional sort of, it's chaotic to watch, but just turn off the game if you're faint of heart. But from a fantasy perspective, I really like him, man. I think he was underpriced.
All right, so we got John Stein here. He's saying, Good morning, John. Wide receiver 2 in a 0.3 PPR league. That's interesting. So it's basically standard. You need to start either Aguilar, Christian Kirk, Will Fuller, Curtis Samuel, or Courtland Sutton. We need one of those guys. I know who I would take.
So who would be your choice here, Shane?
For me, Curtis Samuel's the guy that jumps out. I mean, the fact that they're talking about that they're going to go for that long ball, that means they're going to Curtis Samuel.
Of course, if you've been listening to our broadcast, I know people tune in, they tune out. That's great, and we love the cycle through when they have questions. But Courtland Sutton, he just looks the part of the NFL receiver. But Shane made a really good point. With a quarterback in there that's actually going to be able to throw down the field. And Kyle Allen, if I'm not mistaken, came from an air raid offense or an offense that threw down the field at some point. So Curtis Samuel has had a rough start to the season, not disastrous, but certainly not what we were expecting right off the bat. So I think that Curtis Samuel is probably the smart play. I would agree with you there.
Yeah. Well, just to your point, I mean, the reason that Curtis Samuel had such a great preseason was because he was catching all those long touchdowns, especially in practices. And it's a time when Cam was kind of healthy, his shoulder was working, the ankle was working. He could make those throws. He could plant. He could make those throws. But he hasn't been able to do that for the first 2 weeks. After he got hurt again against the Patriots in week 3 of the preseason, it's just, I was hesitant and reluctant with Cam coming into the season, and he's definitely proven it. So, I'm kind of hoping that they sit him not just this week, maybe even next week, get him right so that moving forward he can play. But right now, if they can bomb the ball out to Curtis Samuel, he's a beast, man. He's so good. I would go Curtis Samuel in this one. All right, so our next question is again from our boy Andrew. Adam Jones. I'm assuming that's Aaron Jones.
Yeah, it's probably Aaron Jones because he's talking about David Johnson in this one as well.
David Johnson, DK Cash. Okay, so I don't have the prices up in front of me, but this week, so I was listening to another show on Sirius yesterday. It's Pro Football Focus with Jeff Ratcliffe. He's awesome. I mean, he does the draft broadcast with Roster Watch every single day.
Oh yes, guys, we are back.
Wait, hold on. Before you go in, Matt, let us just answer this one last question. I would go Aaron Jones there in that situation.
See, I was going to say that David Johnson has been facing the least number of stacked boxes in the NFL so far this season, just because they've been playing that spread out offense.
I wouldn't argue with that.
I think that he's going to break out shortly, man. It's just a matter of time. And I don't have the prices in front of me. If they're similarly priced, I would go with David Johnson. But if you're going to get any sort of savings on Aaron Jones, I don't have an issue with that.
All right.
So, okay, let's not bury the lead anymore.
Go ahead, Matt.
Let's not bury the lead anymore, guys. Thank you for joining us from Roster Watch's all business edition on SiriusXM. We have a lot of Roster Watch Nation in here right now asking questions. I don't exactly know where we fell off, but if you are a Roster Watch Nation member, you might know this next special guest that I have here. live in studio from Canada. He is the representation of the Burly Bird, is what the BVIC. Here he is.
Oh shit!
Good morning, everybody.
Yes.
7 o'clock Eastern over here.
We have
what a treat.
BVIC. We have a real treat here, part of Roster Watch Nation. Actually, guys, let's talk about Roster Watch Nation real quick. That's how we all met each other.
Welcome to the United States, my friend.
Thank you. I think I got busted by a radar cam this morning, zipping my way down the I-5, I think it was.
Yes, it's I-5. It's I-5. He was zipping down here in a minivan. Soon we should have Byron Lambert joining us here to help answer these start-sit questions here. So let's get right to it. We're gonna test out the BVIC right here. I don't know where we left off. Did we get Jennifer Olsted's comment?
Just throw it up on the screen. Go ahead.
Right here, she is a member. Good morning, PPR Superflex. Replacing Cam today at QB. QB gets 6 for a touchdown. Should we go Brissett or Garoppolo, the BVIC? What do you think?
Yeah, get the guest of honor to answer this one first.
It's a darn good question. I'm unprepared because I was flying for an entire day.
Doesn't matter. Go from the gut. Shoot from the gut.
But for me, I'd probably go Garoppolo here. But
yeah, according to the matchup tool, we got Garoppolo. Who's Pittsburgh right here, which is the 8th best matchup for opposing wide receivers, the 9th best matchup for opposing quarterbacks. Where we have, let's scroll down the list here. Indianapolis is the 14th best matchup going against Atlanta, and for quarterbacks, with the 23rd best matchup going against wide receivers. So I think Garoppolo's the solid play here.
Hey, Baron, in a season-long league where you start one QB, if you had Cam and say like another QB like Dak, would you just cut Cam, or would you hold him and see what happens?
No, I'd cut him.
Cut his ass.
He is ruthless, this guy.
I share a league with a colleague, and he wants to carry 2 defenses and 2 quarterbacks, and it's a 1 quarterback league. And
you say if he's your competition, you say, yeah, man, you do that.
I share a team with him.
You share a team.
Oh, hell no.
Yeah. So I'll stockpile the guys on the bench that I can. Jalen Samuels or even a lowly
Chase
Ronald
Edmonds
Jones,
or something. Yeah,
second quarterback.
Right. 100%. We got the BVIC here recommending Jimmy Garoppolo. Are we all in agreement here over Brissett in a super flex? You should super flex on your league with Jimmy Garoppolo. Did we get to this one, Aguilar or Marvin Jones?
That was my boy Wink. We got that one.
So it was Marvin Jones. It wasn't Mike Williams.
Okay. Did we get D Yanks? Thank you, guys.
Real quick.
Go ahead. Yeah.
I thought Florida was the Sunshine State. How come 2 guys in Washington are both breaking out the sunglasses?
You need to see the weather here. It's fucking. Ooh, are we allowed swearing on this?
Yeah, French Canadian. You got.
It's a French Canadian. Yeah.
You can't fucking swear on here.
All right. Sorry, I don't have a filthy mouth. Yeah, the weather. It's just rain. But I was coming in the house of Matt Beck. Yeah, I need to.
Thanks for naming me by name, God.
So, hey, can you tell us like what's the weirdest thing you found in his house so far, just on first observation?
Well, I wasn't allowed to go in his house. He let me in through the garage.
That's the weirdest.
That is not true. He went through my house, saw nothing weird so far.
Baron, check the basement.
There is no basement here.
No
okay, did we get to this one, Sam Dezos?
No.
Did we get to this? Okay, so we got Mostert, DeCios. We got Mostert, Fuller, Landry for a flex spot. Nervous about how much Mostert is going to be on the field. We're nervous about it too. We essentially had a question like this. I think right here the play is Landry now, whereas before we didn't. I'm thinking he's going to get a lot more across the field, short passes in the wake of Njoku going to IR. The BVIC, what do you think?
Must start. It's not a must start this week.
Ooh, I like it.
Fire.
I like that take.
Last week he got garbage time. It's not going to be like that every week. So I would go with Jarvis.
Sealy Shane, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, to me, I think I'm a little bit higher on Fuller than the rest of you guys. I just like the fact that Fuller is capable of getting those long touchdowns. He's likely going to get just as many targets as Jarvis Landry. Jarvis Landry's still, I mean, they're both the number 2s, but we know that Baker's got a propensity to throw down the field a little bit more. I am, again, maybe a little bit higher on Demetrius Harris, thinking that he could step in and take that Njoku role. I mean, it's not like Njoku was getting like 15 targets a week anyways. So for me, I would go Will Fuller in this spot, but I don't hate Jarvis Landry just because of the situation. But for me, I'm going Will Fuller in this one.
Yeah, I mean, I understand what Baron was saying about not most start. I love that, man. That's going in. We're stealing that one every week. But
wait a second. We got Byron Lambert joining us here now on the Game Day edition of the Flex Network with the Roster Watch crew. Hey, Byron, right here we got Canada's finest. Right here, the BVIC live in studio. What's up, Byron?
Holy fuck, man! You got that? You let that degenerate scumbag come down to your neck of the woods, man?
Oh, man! Officers got to do a better job, guys, getting this guy across the border.
The police already pulled him over on the way down, just so you know.
Always cock strong, Baron. Thanks to have you on, man. Thank you for everybody joining us this morning, and thanks to the Flex Network for doing this venture with us on Sunday mornings. It's fun. So let's get after it. I got about 20, 25, 30 minutes here. Let's fire away. Let's answer user questions.
Okay. So we got, I don't know if you guys have gone through this one. Darwin YOLO in game stacks on DK. What do you feel, Byron, about Darwin putting him in this week in DK?
I think it's he's probably going to be more popular, than maybe just a normal tournament play. I would need to pull up the pricing to see exactly. I remember thinking his pricing was pretty enticing this week. So I think it's a fine play. I know folks are a little bit worried about the weather right now.
Hey, Byron, did you see the video that was on Twitter this morning of Shady limping into the stadium?
Yeah. So, that's the other thing, right? I said it on the SiriusXM show a little bit ago. If Shady tweaks his injury at all, it's going to be just, wheels up for Darwin Thompson. So yeah, if you've done all the research and you're looking to put him in your DraftKings lineup, it's a fine play.
Awesome, Byron. Thank you so much. We're joined here by Byron Lambert from Roster Watch. We got the BVIC in studio here live. We're going off the rails on our way to the Seahawks game today, Byron. He's never tried a White Claw in his life. Nope. He's from Canada, and it's all he's been drinking since he's been here, Byron.
What do they say? Something about no laws with the claw. I'm gonna have to look it up, man. There's some funny sayings about that White Claw.
Are there cross-border laws with the White Claws? Is what I want to know here.
I'm telling you.
God plus win for the win, or Evans this week, Byron. What do you think here?
Well, Alex was surprised to see that I had Godwin over Evans in my rankings. I know that Roto Grinders, Dan Bach, coming into our show on SiriusXM, said that Mike Evans was his favorite wide receiver play of the week. Alex has Evans a little bit higher than Godwin, so maybe those guys see something that I don't. So I guess let's roll with Mike Evans. He would have had just 2 weeks ago, we would have had him, ranked a little bit higher there as well. So. Yeah. He's the lead guy, even though what we've seen out of Godwin's been really nice so far.
This has got to be a get-right week for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers if there ever was one against the very terrible Giants defense, don't you think? We talked about convergence points for Evans and Godwin all season. Maybe this is actually where it actually starts to separate itself. I know Mike Evans has been the guy, but it's been Godwin so far sucking up all those nice targets.
Well, I think the thing we find out this week is how legitimate this whole, the entire narrative the offseason was that this is going to be Bruce Arians, Hines Ward is Larry Fitzgerald with Chris Godwin, and that just we have a ton of evidence that suggests that that's just the type of player that in Arians' offense he happens to focus on and really love. Based on what I saw at training camp, Mike Evans was still just the clear lead dog on that offense, as good as Godwin looked. It's hard for me to imagine that just because conceptually Arians has always had this affinity with this big slot type guy, that's going to trump, the talent of a Mike Evans. But so far that's been the case, man. This week, I would say we're going to learn a whole lot this week about Evans versus Godwin moving forward. But yeah, I think we can go to the well with Mike Evans here.
Can I, before you just jump in,
Godwin's a freak.
I just have a follow-up to that too. Also, how does OJ Howard fit into all that? Is he just, he's one of the guys that I'm taking an early season loss on, but still have faith in. Is he going to get going?
Yeah, I feel like it's a Devontae Freeman today with OJ Howard. This is one of these guys where you've drafted him, you've started him, you've gotten basically ghosted on in 2 consecutive weeks, and you're feeling very, very hurt and very gun shy by playing those guys. But you drafted them so early, and you might be pretty tight end is thin. Flex or RB3 is not a sure thing either. So I just think you got to have a little faith. Most people are just going to have faith and roll both those guys out, this week and hope that it works out, man. And it's a get right spot.
If you have someone like Austin Hooper, would you start him over OJ Howard?
I don't think so. Let me see our rankings. That's a close one. I know Hooper's been doing pretty well, and it's actually a decent matchup for Hooper. Let me double check something for you guys really quick. I think, let's see here. Hooper, we have. Yeah, Alex and I have Hooper as our number 10 tight end. I mean, we're both in total agreement on that. OJ Howard, I have as my 11 guy. Alex has as his 7. So that's like basically it goes OJ Howard, Delanie Walker, Austin Hooper in our rankings. So in that case, guys, the way we like to split these hairs is let's go with the matchup. Let's go with the game totals are pretty similar, but it's the number 4 matchup on the week for Howard. It's the number 14 matchup on the week with Hooper. Let's see what Vegas thinks about these guys. That's another place that we should go here. Austin Hooper, Vegas is predicting 10.4 points in DraftKings and 10.7 for Howard in DraftKings. So I think we kind of have the matchup and the Vegas flex value on the side of Howard. The other place I would check is snap counts. I believe Howard, and you guys can go check the snap counts, touches, and targets tool over at rosterwatch.com. Available to all of our pro subscribers. You can go look at the difference in the snap counts and targets for OJ Howard versus Austin Hooper through the beginning couple of weeks of the season. And that would be kind of another tiebreaker that I would use, but I would suggest probably sticking with Howard for one more week.
Well,
there
OJ
you
Howard,
go.
just on, looking at the snap counts, targets, and touches, he was on the field for 92% of snaps, but 0 targets last week for OJ Howard.
He had that one target where he had offensive pass interference.
He's been bad, right? But Arians did kind of try to light that fire under his ass in the media this week. It's we'll see if that means anything. You think maybe you can concoct in your head that this is a week where Arians wants to kind of try to maybe get him the ball a little bit to see if they can get that thing up and running, man. So tight end's a tough spot, guys. Tight end's a tough spot, and there's very few guys. Hell, I've had George Kittle the first 2 weeks of the season, and that's not even been like a can't miss deal, right? So you're not going to hit every week on your tight end, and I think it's a fine play with OJ Howard if you have to this week.
Well, Byron Lambert from Roster Watch, follow them at Roster Watch and find them at www.rosterwatch.com. Please grab a pro membership. It is the least expensive fantasy content out there, especially for exactly what Byron just rattled through, all the tools to help make a decision at tight end. You guys can all do that in the same way. They afford all their listeners and subscribers the best tools, and we use those tools as well. And it's great insight to have Byron here. So Byron, thank you. I know you're short of time. We're going to rifle through these here, guys.
Okay, that sounds good.
So we got Freddie C, 1217, half point PPR, start 2. Ridley, D. Robinson from KC or Fuller, start 2.
Well, I know I want Ridley. I'm in love with Calvin Ridley. And Roster Watch Nation has a ton of Calvin Ridley, right? So let's see. Who was it? It was DeMarcus Robinson, or who else, guys? I'm sorry.
Will Fuller.
Robinson, we have as me and Alex in lockstep, our number 33. So he's like our 34 guy. And then Fuller is going to be like our number, 38 guy. So, man, I would buy into DeMarcus Robinson with the Chiefs. The only thing that could back me off that right now, I haven't checked in. I got some friends texting me about their teams worried about the weather in that game right now. I've been on air. I don't know what you guys are seeing right now.
So
are you?
I got the current forecast here. Okay, so right now it's 74 degrees, humidity 85%. The thing is, the winds are only at 12 miles per hour.
Right?
That's
Isn't
fine.
a wind
sub 20? You need 20 mile an hour sustained winds to really have an objection about your fantasy players.
Yeah, rain is never a deterrent for me. In fact, if the narrative is going to be fade that game because of the rain, I'm going to double up on it. Yeah.
And honestly, the receivers and the skill players have the advantage in that type of situation. So, man, I think I'm not going to get a Sunday swindle with some late-breaking bullshit weather report. You know, that's the long-time doctrine at Roster Watch is no Sunday swindles, no last-minute swindles. The majority of the time, you make some last-minute cockamamie move based on some late-breaking misinformation. It's just it does most of the time it does not work out. So let's go with the rankings. There's a lot that goes into those. We want Demarcus Robinson over.
Yeah, we talk about that like on the SAT. When you change your answer, man, it's always you should never change your answer on a test either.
First instinct, multiple choices. You know, not always right, but it's more right than that last-minute change you make.
Hey, Baron,
there you go.
Baron, what did you get on the SAT? I'm just curious. Do they take that in Canada?
We don't take SATs in Canada, dude.
Okay.
He would have failed the SAT. Start 3.
They take the CT.
Hilarious.
Hilarious. Victor Rogers with the comment. Start 3 in PPR with bonuses for big plays on DK. Lockett, Allen Robinson, Tyler Boyd, Christian Kirk, or Hollywood Brown. Start 3. I would say if you get the big play bonus, you got to have Hollywood Brown as one of the 3. If you're getting a big play bonus, he's got to be locked in. Tyler Boyd, I don't know how many huge big plays he's got, but I know that Tyler Lockett's always in for 1 or 2 a game.
Yeah, so we've got Boyd, Brown, and did you say Christian Kirk as well?
Yep, Kirk is on there.
We have Boyd, Brown, and Kirk back to back to back, 19, 20, and 21. Love all those guys. I would say with the big play bonus, I'm totally with you. Hollywood Brown takes the cake there. Lockett is our number 14 receiver. The industry likes him at 12. So I think you lock in Lockett and Marquise Brown. And was there one more?
And Kirk or Boyd.
Well, or Robinson, but I think Robinson's out just because
It's just hard to trust, man. That thing is already looking like last year where it's going to be hit or miss, right? So, dude, we got Boyd and Kirk back to back. Tyler Boyd.
It's hinging on your response here, Byron.
Boy, that's a really, really tough one.
Boyd or Kirk with big play bonuses right now. Byron Lambert at Roster Watch.
With a big play bonus, man, give me Christian Kirk on the fast track, dude.
Christian Kirk on the fast track. Next, Edison Choi, Devontae Freeman or Josh Jacobs, 1 point PPR. Devontae Freeman or Josh Jacobs.
Boy, we love Edison Choi, a longtime subscriber over at Roster Watch, a good member of the nation. Man, I'm gonna just stick it out with Devontae Freeman one more time here. Josh Jacobs has lost 10 pounds. I pulled him up in our rankings this morning because I've been low on him all week, and the more I looked into the matchup and the more it seemed like he was going to play, I was a little too low on him. But boy, I just feel like he's an RB3, and Devontae Freeman's more of a low end RB2 this week.
Alex was saying on the show that he's on the 10-pound diarrhea diet as well. That he
that's all water, dude. That leaves you feeling like shit, man. You don't have, when you're dehydrated, look at these watch a lot of fights, man. These guys who cut a lot of weight and lose a lot of water, dude, their gas tanks are definitely affected by it.
Yeah, that's why I was saying for sure I'm probably going to fade Josh Jacobs this week.
And so look at it, come from behind effort. They're 9-point dogs, and even though Jacobs has gotten all the snaps to this point, has the 3-down versatility, it could be his game script where they have to look to a Jalen Richard and a DeAndre Washington playing from behind. They need some more receiving type backs. Jacobs doesn't have the energy to play the entire game. So, yeah, I think if you have a clearer option, you just go with that.
All right. Tyler Wayner, standard scoring, Duke Johnson or AP, Marquise Brown or Juju. The narrative this week, Byron, is heavy on the fact that Juju's taking a hit with Mason Rudolph. But we at the Flex Network think that Juju's a wide receiver 1 no matter which way you look at it.
It's a tough call. I want to go. I guess so much work needs to go in our rankings. I got to stick with those. We would play Juju. We're higher on him. The entire industry's higher on him. He's a top 12 wide receiver play this week. But that hurts bad, man. We love Hollywood Brown this week.
Hey,
what about Duke or AP?
Duke or AP? I can look. I'm going to say Duke as I'm looking at our rankings. Just as Alex and I agree, this could be a little better spot for Duke and the type of matchup it is with the Chargers than maybe like last week when the action seemed to go to Hyde, and then just AP. You hate him you hate him at home in this matchup against the Bears where they're supposed to be playing from behind. So AP basically a low-end RB3 from our perspective and the industry's perspective. So, yeah, we're going to bench AP in that situation, man.
Awesome, Byron. So let's get you out with 3 more here, Byron. So we got pick a Brown, Hollywood Brown or John Brown in PPR.
Woo! Hollywood or John Brown. I moved Hollywood Brown in our rankings over John Brown this morning, and Alex agreed.
Okay, so we go Hollywood Brown here.
Hey,
here we go with
just
Sully.
so you know, Mark Andrews is in. It says he's active today.
Mark Andrews is active today on the Flex Finder
That's
podcast.
actually good for Hollywood Brown, by the way.
We think so too. So Sully right here, Gore or Barber. Sully, our guy.
He is our guy, man. We love Sully from Houston. If most of the rest of Roster Watch Nation turns out to be cool and normal like Sully, we'll be down to hang out with you guys like we did with him at the NFL draft. You guys got to try to win these listener leagues, though, if you want the invite. And the best place to keep up with us, guys, is on iTunes, the Roster Watch podcast. We know many of you have found us on Twitter or on SiriusXM or over at the site, but the podcast is our number one priority at Roster Watch. We're doing a ton of media on the podcast, and you guys can get the best information for your season long and your DFS there all season long, all year round. You know, you guys, some of our most popular podcasts are in the off season when we're scouting all these rookies. So sorry, I diverged there. Bring me back to the question, Matt.
I just want to say the podcast on Saturday is one of my favorites as well, because literally Alex will go through each game by game on the Saturday podcast in DFS and tell you which correlation plays. And for someone who's, I would say, middle of the road skills and DFS, it's a really good strategic way to not have to go through a bunch of data, and you could just get it straight from his mouth on Saturdays.
And worth mentioning that I'll be launching the inaugural episode of the Tradecast this week. That's become a very, very popular Roster Watch podcast over the last few seasons. This is where I just break down the trade market and give you guys some actionable ideas as to who to pursue or who to try to ship off your team every week, kind of do the work for you and boil it down. So yeah, you guys know, man, we have all 5-star reviews on the podcast. So it's probably some of the absolute best content that Roster Watch puts forward. So we'd urge anybody that hasn't already to go over to iTunes, subscribe to the Roster Watch podcast, and begin listening. All right, Matt, let's get back to the fantasy question.
Yeah. So Frank Gore or Peyton Barber from our boy Sully in Houston.
We're going to have to go with Frank Gore, man.
Frank Gore, smoke it if you got it. Is this Allen Robinson or Christian Kirk in PPR?
Or maybe it's DeMarcus Robinson.
No, yeah. I think it's Allen. I think it's Allen Robinson or Christian Kirk. PPR.
Kirk. We trust Kyler Murray a lot more. Christian
Kirk. Byron, Barron, that has to be hung. The guy, the degenerate.
Barron and hung. I don't want to hear those words in the same sentence. We don't ever want to toot that guy.
Oh, the irony.
What's up, Roster Watch Nation and Flex Nation? Thanks, man. Thank you for tuning in, all you guys. We're going to get Byron out of here. One last question here. I think this is a great one here. Mark Andrews, Austin Eckler, Patriots, or Carson Ertz, Cowboys in DFS. This is a good one for Byron here.
Carson Ertz, Cowboys, or Eckler, Patriots.
Andrews and Patriots. Mark Andrews,
oh my God,
Eckler and the Patriots, or Chris Carson, Ertz and the Cowboys.
Give me Chris Carson, Ertz, and the Cowboys.
Boy, that's what we said earlier. That's right. That was the
nice
same
when
question.
All of our opinions align.
We like agreement at Roster Watch, right? We love when the tools agree. We love when all our various inputs agree. It just gives us a sense of confirmation that we're making the right decision with the information we have at hand. Hey guys, I got about 2 or 3 minutes here, so we can fire through a few here. Let's go.
Okay, Winston or Watson today, 6 points per touchdown.
Yeah, we're just going to go with our rankings, and Deshaun Watson is our number 5 quarterback on the week.
Does the number of points per touchdown sway you ever, or is just that? I mean, does that ever factor into a decision for you?
Yeah, I think if it's a 4-point touchdown passing league, then I'm a little more interested in the guys that can create fantasy production with their legs.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah,
I mean, at least marginally, I am. And I'm also at that point, I'm probably looking at passing attempts a little bit more. I want guys who are going to bomb it then.
We've had a question earlier too, Lamar versus Pat Mahomes. Our basic was always Mahomes, doesn't matter the situation. Would you agree with that? Because a lot of people have this Mahomes-Lamar dilemma today.
Yeah, man. I mean, you guys know I'm like on the front line of the Lamar Jackson 2019 fan club, but I just don't see any way you can sit Patrick Mahomes for Lamar Jackson.
All right, let's move on here, Byron. Who would you play in a flex? Mecole Hardman, I think that's Robinson from the Chiefs, Crowder, Miles Sanders, or Philip Dorsett?
You got to figure out which one of those Chiefs wide receivers you want to get in. You got to pick the right one and get them in, man. And if you want to look at our rankings, let's see, we're going to have, I believe it's going to be Hardman. We have 2 spots over Robinson, and the industry appears to agree. So Mecole
Hardman, PPR flex, Arcega-Whiteside, Deebo Samuel, or Preston Williams.
That's a good one, man. I like that question. Shows it's a deep league.
I think I might go Preston Williams.
Ooh.
If you're worried about
flex.
that, if you're worried about that, I could see going Arcega-Whiteside.
Arcega, we love Deebo Samuel here at the Flex Network, but we would never miss an opportunity to get Arcega-Whiteside in the lineup at any choice here. Boom, Andrew Carasquillo, thank you so much. Thank you for all the thanks, Byron. We'll go ahead and get you out of here now.
Can I just ask one quick question on the?
Yeah, this is a Flex Network question for you, Byron.
Yeah, Byron. So is there anything that you were big on in the offseason that you've just been flat out wrong about in the first 2 weeks, but you still have faith in? Who's the player or the situation?
Well, I mean, you could obviously point to like the Leonard Fournettes and Devontae Freemans of the world, and I'm tired. It's going to be hard to make a living year after year getting up and trying to defend those guys after what they've done the last couple of seasons. But I think it's fair to say, like, Freeman is a little bit of a different situation than Fournette. I mean, having Nick Foles go down in week 1, turning to your 5th round rookie quarterback, that's just a transition period. He's almost been getting 100 yards a game. He still hasn't really been getting the volume of touches that we expected, but I feel like that thing, Minshew, it's starting to come together a little bit there, and there's better days ahead for Fournette. So, I could come up here and stump for him, that much longer, but I'd say he's one. Freeman, I think you plug away a little bit this week. Where else have I potentially been wrong that I'm thinking about right now?
Any of the receivers that are doing well that you were low on, perhaps?
I was a little low on T.Y. Hilton, just because of what I'd seen with him and Brissett to begin in a couple years ago. I didn't know Tyreek Hill was going to be injured, so based on the year Sammy Watkins had last year, it was hard to be high on him.
Yeah. Yep, that was a tough one. If you hit on that one, it makes you look way good right now. The Sammy Watkins hit, that was a tough one, I think, for everybody.
Emmanuel Sanders, that's a tough injury for a wide receiver to get behind. And that's been an extraordinary.
What about Miles Sanders? What about Miles Sanders and
I
Jordan
pretty much
Howard?
Faded those guys most of the offseason, so I think I think that's worked out pretty well. Guys like Michael Gallup and Cooper Kupp, I could have been a little bit higher on. Gallup is a guy. Actually, Lisa Ann and I both kind of like Gallup. I know Alex was a little bit out on him. Dr. David Chow really made – I always worry, maybe irrationally these days, about these guys coming off a late ACL injury the year before and just coming right back in and picking up where they left off. I think we have seen in recent years, though, players are making just better recoveries from those injuries. We're a little concerned about Dr. David Chow saying he'd been out at that Rams camp and he was still a little cautious with Cooper Kupp. So maybe a little bit low on those guys, but I'm not sure that those are league winners. So I'm not feeling too bad about it.
Byron, we could sit here and talk and ask you questions all day. We just love picking.
Yeah, what I want to do.
He's gotten a lot right too. So
the
Dalvin Cooks of the world, and we could go the how much Lamar Jackson Roster Watch Nation owns is just disgusting. There was a period on the standard sheet where we were actually getting a lot of Dak Prescott, gotten a ton of Mark Andrews.
Well, that's what's so great. You guys have so many more hits than misses. Everyone has even the best home run hitters have a few misses here and there, but I couldn't think of any misses by you. That's why we asked the question.
Trust me, they stick in my craw, so I don't forget about them. But this is why we work so hard, man. We always, we want to do the best we can for our subscribers.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for
So
Go
I was
ahead,
just going to
Shane.
say, in all my best balls throughout the offseason, like Lamar Jackson is my highest owned quarterback as my QB2, just because you loved him so much in the offseason. Every time he was there in the 9th, 10th round, I just snatched him up.
Dude, I'm so pissed because I mocked him in basically every one of my own personal mocks, but I couldn't get him in a damn league, man.
Oh, yeah.
What happens when you're touting a guy hard and you have a lot of fans, that's what happens.
People know they'll take him around early just to avoid you getting him.
Yeah. And we hate the swindles on our own league mates and family members and the guys that they know we're trying to swindle. They're listening to all of our content and grabbing all of our guys.
I told you guys to fade James Conner. I did tell you that. Alex told y'all to fade Michael Thomas, which I thought was a little BS. We didn't know Breeze was going to be injured, but hey, sometimes the ends justify the means. So those were 2 picks early. I would say we were pretty damn spot on with.
Yeah. And we love at Roster Watch. Give it a follow, a like, go to the podcast. As Byron mentioned, the Trade Cast, one of the most popular segments that Roster Watch produces on the podcast, our in-depth trade analysis, who we're going after, who has high upside, who we can buy low on and swindle the rest of our league mates. This is Roster Watch and the Flex Network brainchilds, bringing the BVIC from all the way Eastern Canada to Washington. We're going to the Seahawks game today. Byron, any parting words that you have for the BVIC and all of Roster Watch Nation?
Well, you guys are doing a fantastic job over at the Flex Network, and we're very pleased to be doing these live sit starts for the listeners and the fans on Sunday mornings all season. I think this is a great addition to the suite of offerings over at rosterwatch.com. Please, you guys, come subscribe to the Roster Watch podcast over on iTunes. Follow us on Twitter at RosterWatch. And, of course, if you don't have a pro subscription, it's cheaper than this damn cup of coffee I've been drinking over here. Come sign up. And until next time, Roster Watch Nation, be good.
Be good, Byron.
All right.
Thank you
Thanks
so
for
much.
everything, man. We love you. We love you guys. So we appreciate you working with us, and we're always here to support you.
Likewise, guys. We'll talk to you soon. Have a
See
great
you
Sunday.
later.
Bye, Baron.
Just gave him a peace sign. Anyway, guys, let's get back to your questions. Thank you guys so much.
That was cool, right? I mean,
that was
so cool.
Yeah, man. I mean, for those of you who aren't familiar with who that is, that's Byron Lambert, who is 1/3 of the brainchild behind Roster Watch, which we're all. That's how all of us met. And he just thinks about things in a different ways. He goes to all these camps. He scouts rookies in person. They're the only fantasy pay website that goes there and actually does the scouting for us. So advice for him is gold.
Well,
and then go ahead, Shane.
I was going to say, they're there the entire offseason. He talks about how some of their busiest time is in the offseason. They don't take a break. I mean, they basically start and they go to the Senior Bowl, and like Alex is on the ground all the time at the Longhorns. So he's there.
Yeah,
so he's like, they've got the pulse on the college football. They've got the pulse on the rookies. They are the de facto rookie experts. I mean, SiriusXM now has them as their rookie experts with their tours. They're at the NFL draft. They're at training camps. I mean, the content is gold. And the best part is that these are the guys that throughout the season on your waiver wires, they're going to be able to tell you who the priorities are because they know exactly who these rookies are. They're the best in the game.
My favorite hits from there is I drafted Alvin Kamara pretty much everywhere. Although Alvin Kamara fell into the first round, Alex and Byron both were saying, guys, Alvin Kamara, go draft him no matter what you can do. He's going to be a stud. Of course, it hits. Cooper Kupp, the Roster Watch Nation. They have golden sons, golden childs. Okay.
Cooper
Kupp, like I said, I believe DeAndre Hopkins was one from back in the day. Just
David Johnson. I drafted David Johnson the year he came out. I drafted Devonta Freeman the year he came out. I mean,
Byron
all
Lambert, royalty in the house. Isaac,
Go, Isaac.
We all know Isaac, don't we? The B and the T, banana in the tailpipe. Let's get back to it. Justin Jackson here. Monty McCoy, Hollywood Brown, Ridley, Kirk Robinson need a running back and 2 flexes. Okay, so same lineup, Winston or Kyler. and have Edmonds and Godwin starting wide receivers. So, I mean, if you're going to play the stack, I mean, if you're already going Evans and Godwin, then you're going to have to play the stack. Is that correct there? I mean, we're going high upside here. So I would say we go Winston there. You can't go McCoy. So wait,
let's say why can't? Well, I'm just curious why you can't.
Because he's limping in the stadium.
Right,
he's limping in the stadium.
It's just too risky, man. It's like first play of the game, he tweaks his ankle. That's it.
I need to change my lineup then because I have him in there. But I think you're right.
And so of course, if it's between only Monty and McCoy, then I would say you just have to go Monty. I mean, you can't risk, a negative amount for any reason. And so then you would say 2 flexes in your spots. Hollywood Brown, Calvin Ridley, Christian Kirk, and Robinson from KC. And so at that point, let's take 2 of those guys. I would say we got to stuff in Hollywood, don't we? I mean, we just have to stuff them in, right, dude. Baron?
Well, Byron was higher than Ridley.
Your mic is on, Baron. Get in there. Just talk into it. Jesus. Hold it. You know how to hold it.
Okay. Well, we know he knows how to hold it.
He knows how to hold it, Baron. What do you think?
You muted me for when Byron was on.
No, I didn't mute you at all. I just wanted to make sure that the echo wasn't coming from us. So you got Hollywood, Ridley, Kirk, or Robinson, Baron? Who do you like? Out of those 4, need 2.
I think Ridley's a lock.
Ridley a lock. Now, we love Hollywood, though. So would we go Hollywood and Ridley?
I think I would.
That would probably be the same.
Get that mic nice and close to your face, Baron, because I want to hear everything you say.
Yeah, you do.
There you go. Sounds better.
First time on the cam, dude. He's in Seattle. We're going to the Seahawks game. We're going to go Monty, Hollywood Brown, Calvin Ridley, and then Winston over Kyler only because of that. Tevin Coleman here, D-Yanks 13. Do we keep or drop Tevin Coleman? I say we drop Tevin Coleman as quick as you can. Crushing White Claws at 8:30 a.m. Treat yourself.
Treat yourself. Love it,
yes.
Mr. Roy.
Have you heard about the White Claw competitor? It's called Truly. Have you heard about this now?
Yeah. We've heard about Truly. We've
what's
heard
this for the Canadian
guys?
Yeah, I mean, I saw it on the supermarket shelf yesterday. I almost was tempted to give it a shot and bring it on the cast to compete with your White Claw, but I can't go against the Flex Network's choice of brew.
Baron brought me in a black cherry here, and I said, "Listen, Baron, go to the fridge." And he popped open the fridge, and he goes, "Whoa." I've got Tall Boys by the case of White Claw in the beer fridge in the garage. This is the game day edition of the Flex Network with your start sits. Baron, we know you're just a trash man of sorts, Baron. What do you think about the Antonio Brown news this morning that came out saying that he is not playing in the NFL anymore? Do you think that Vince McMahon steps in, pays Antonio Brown $50 million to be the star of the XFL, and Colin Kaepernick's going to throw him the ball? Would you not
that would
watch
be so
it
sick.
Every week,
that would be
Baron?
so sick.
Absolutely, Baron. I would. If Vince McMahon's got billions, he's ready to drop it on Antonio Brown.
Okay, who else should be in this league? Now you got me thinking. Okay, so they should definitely get Antonio Brown, obviously. Kaepernick, if he would do it, great pick. I love that one. Who else has kind of been like a cast off? I mean, who else?
Jeff Janis?
Jeff Janis. Right. That's a funny one. No, who's the I forgot the name of the receiver from Pittsburgh who could never stay on the field, then went to Oakland because
Martavis
Bryant.
The alien.
Martavis Bryant would be a good
Blackman.
Justin Blackman, an old school one, definitely.
And then I mean, how about like is T.O. too old?
T.O. in the XFL,
what about
guys?
Dez Bryant, that'd be a great one. Oh my God, dude! How crazy would it be if all these players actually did go? I would watch it. I mean, because
it'd be fun.
Other than the curiosity factor, I'm not really going to watch. Unless it can't be. They need something.
Oh, you want to do it on air?
We could.
Oh my! Baron says that he has Canadian gifts from across the border. He's about to smuggled gifts.
Had to smuggle them.
Go ahead on air. This is go.
Are we gonna have to get Mike on here?
Oh my gosh!
Well, I hope Mike is on here. But so I got
hold the mic. Hold the mic for him.
ketchup flavor.
There we go,
Doritos.
Canadian.
Nice.
These aren't the best, but since Matt likes to partake in a lot of
Extracurricular activities.
No, it's
Doritos
legal.
are
It's legal
and
where
with-
you are, right?
oh, is it? Yeah. Okay.
Isn't it
Oh,
legal?
dude,
he likes-
you're completely legal here, my friend, and there
Yeah.
will be some festivity partaking and some ketchup Doritos. Unbelievable, Baron.
So that was originally for Mike Yeager, but he lost the bag. So
okay.
there's only one going his way now.
Oh, we don't like that guy. What?
Where is Baron sleeping in your house? Like what room is it?
It's not
It's actually
sleeping.
it's actually my 12th anniversary today.
Oh, congrats.
Congrats. You get to spend it with friggin' Matt. Lucky
Yeah.
guy.
Yes.
So that kind of just worked out poorly.
So this was so you're in town because look at that.
What is this here?
It's a little tiny coffee
You
crisp.
guys don't have coffee crisp either?
I'm
No,
not a
I
big
never heard of it.
but a
What
lot
is
of
this
people
world
are
you live in?
here. So
Whoa, yeah. from
coffee flavored
Nestle.
candy bars.
Okay,
Oh,
just a little life hack about the coffee crisp. Eat all around the actual crisp part, like eat all the chocolate, and then just eat like kind of the toffee part at the end. It's heaven, man.
Okay, well, I will choose. I have two, so I can
Can-
choose to eat it that way, and then
There
I
you
can.
go.
Can you
What
live
else?
stream from the game today?
Yeah.
I want to see what's going on.
Yeah, our
else
boy Kevin S was asking for that.
Look at
Daughter
this.
or your fiance, whichever you prefer.
Oof.
It's a little pure
That's
milk.
a
Oh, that's-
maple syrup sucker.
What
and
is
that's a-
this?
That's a Canadian maple leaf, right?
It's les bonbons.
Yeah.
What?
Wow.
Excuse me.
No, no.
What is?
Okay, so in Quebec, which is not where Baron's from. Baron's from our nation's capital, Ottawa, Canada.
grew up
Sorry, he grew up in Quebec. Okay, so in Quebec, they have basically maple syrup that they freeze because it gets pretty cold, and they basically just eat it off a stick. So
So
then
they
go
freeze
ahead,
it.
Baron.
They don't freeze it.
Well, they put it on the snow.
boil it. They boil it, and so they reduce it. Even more than maple syrup, and then they dump it on snow, and it kind of coagulates and turns into a toffee. And so you roll it off a stick. It's a delicacy.
Wow, what a just perfect use of the elements. This is fantastic
So give
on
that to
air
your
live
daughter, buddy.
radio. Give it to my daughter. Why is it poisoned?
Yeah.
You
We're
poisoned
poisoning
it?
somebody. It's you.
It's my daughter you're poisoning here. Okay, what else? He's
So
got a can of
Here's a
something.
can
here.
of maple syrup from Quebec.
Oh, that's
Pure
nice.
maple syrup from the can.
I like how here in the States they say organic maple syrup, but it's like impossible not to have organic maple syrup. So.
Correct. That's
Whoa,
right.
from
Maple
the
syrup is pure, right?
Whoa, and I'll just put these on like pancakes.
Yeah, Eggos pancakes.
Oh, my daughter loves pancakes.
Yeah.
You could
So-
put a little maple syrup in a hot tea also if you want instead of honey.
Oh my
Yeah,
god.
I put it in oatmeal.
Oh my god.
delicious.
Something else. What
Well,
else? is here?
lastly, because the weather's trash.
Yeah, we got more questions pouring in here, guys.
All right, let's get those questions before we lose
Our
everybody.
ponchos with the Canadian flag on them.
Canada.
We're gonna rock those today at the Seahawks game.
Okay, let's get back to this here.
Let's do it.
Thank you, Baron. You're a man amongst men, if that makes any sense. Joe Gunter here. Devontae Freeman or Ty Montgomery in a standard league.
No, he means
Devontae
David
Freeman-
Montgomery. He means
David
David.
I'm sorry. We got White Claws from 8:30 in the morning here, guys. David Montgomery or Devontae Freeman.
Yikes.
I
D-Mont.
think Montgomery.
Yeah.
Standard League?
Yes.
I'm going Freeman.
Fair enough.
I would lean Freeman until Montgomery does it consistently.
It-
Granted, I know Freeman hasn't, but I just like the matchup this week better.
Yep. David Montgomery against a puny Washington team. Formidable at times, but I just think
They've
this
got a
is
better defense than
fair
they've let
enough.
off.
I like what I've seen from the eye test, and Freeman. These players are headed in opposite directions.
Yeah.
Okay,
So-
we answered this earlier, Justin. Pouring in KC. Our thoughts are smoke them if you got them. Every single person. It's
Load 'em
pouring
up.
rain. It's pouring rain here too, guys. This is Patrick Mahomes. Okay, this guy is not affected. This guy would only be affected by kryptonite. Okay, this guy is unbelievable. Start him. Start every single one of them, and let's rock. Todd Sherwood, thank you, Todd, for joining us this morning on this game day edition. Pick 4 to start. Okay, you guys ready for this? Okay, PPR: John Brown, Gordon, Juju is being started. DeMarcus Robinson, Kittle is being started. Mark Andrews is being started. So it's John Brown versus Josh Gordon versus DeMarcus Robinson. Pick 1 by Baron. Who do you got? John Brown, Josh Gordon, DeMarcus Robinson. PPR.
Well, okay, I guess John Brown.
John Brown.
And why? Make Barron give rationale. He knows what he's talking about. Barron actually is for those of you who are just meeting Barron for the first day, he's one of the smartest fantasy players out there. He makes he's one of the best drafters. He has good fantasy analysis, and he's keeping it all to himself. So Barron, tell him why John Brown.
I can't tell you why. No, I don't trust Demarcus Robinson to have a lot of targets this week. He may not, but truth is, Mecole Hardman out-targeted him last week, if I'm not mistaken, and Demarcus Robinson just put up better numbers with what he was given. So that's just a good take factor for me. And my second take, I forget who the players were, but
the second one was John Brown or Josh Gordon.
Yeah. Was John Brown, Josh Gordon, or DeMarcus? Yeah, so I guess that leaves Gordon, but I'll defer to one of you guys for the last.
Well, let's just think about this for a second here. Let's take a step back. So I actually agree that I would go Juju, Kittle, Andrews, and probably I'd go John Brown. I think over DeMarcus Robinson as well. But ultimately, what it comes down to is, do we really want to be playing two tight ends? Right? Would you ever in a world sit one of those two tight ends?
Yeah,
I'm just asking,
as a general rule, no, but these are different animals.
Okay.
These are different animals. Let's go John Brown. We're going John Brown, Juju, Kittle, and Andrews.
Absolutely.
Isaac Y. Who should I start as a game time snack? Ketchup chips or coffee crisp?
Ketchup chips.
It's not even a question.
Combo of both. Of both. Isaac from Roster Watch Nation.
Love that, Isaac. Good one. Good question.
What a question.
Well, here's the answer. You insert the coffee crisp rectally and you eat the ketchup chips.
Okay.
You know what? There's the answer.
See, you keister one, eat one, and just enjoy.
They say attack at all angles, right?
In the States, we call that plugging. You plug one.
Jesus.
These are Barron-sized coffee.
We get Barron in the damn studio, and it goes off the rails immediately.
Yes. Okay. Andrew Carasquillo, again, we love you, brother. Thank you so much for tuning in. We're almost out of here, guys. Choose one wide receiver and one flex. McLaurin, Hardman, Samuel, Miles Sanders, Raheem Mostert, or Darwin Thompson. One receiver, I'm going Debo. That's just me. One flex, it's hard. I'm going to go Hardman.
Yeah, but I agree with you, Matt. I agree with you. The flex, the decision for me would have been between Miles Sanders and Mecole Hardman, but smoke him if you got him, baby. Let's go Mecole.
Says Mecole and Debo.
I'm with that, man. But he said he needs. So I like Hardman just because I want a piece of this this offense. And I mean, if you hit on Mecole, it could go modestly well, but it could be a jackpot and a week winner. And I wouldn't have any problem with Samuel. I like Mostert more than you guys, but I have no problem going with what you just said.
All right, go ahead, Shane. Continue us here.
All right, so Jacob, a full PPR 10-team league flex play. Kerryon Johnson, Marquise Brown, or Sammy Watkins. My goodness.
I mean, Watkins is still a top 12 wide receiver until further notice. I know he had a little bit of a down week last week, but you already saw sometimes it's not the size of the sample, it's the magnitude. And the magnitude of week one was just off the charts. Sammy Watkins, just keep plugging him in. You're going to get the numbers.
Okay, so wait, Andrew Carasquillo said it was actually
Curtis Samuel. Curtis Samuel.
Doesn't change our.
That was okay. So wait a second, because we picked Debo. We picked Debo Samuel or Mecole Hardman. So now it's Curtis Samuel or Mecole. So at that point, I might then lean Darwin for the high upside. Darwin, and then no. I'm going Hardman and Samuel.
Listen, dude. Don't like natural selection yourself over here.
Okay, I'm sorry. My bad. Here we go. John Peterson, thank you so much, brother, for tuning in. Mecole Hardman, James Washington, Darwin Thompson, Lat Murray, or John Ross, PPR, need one. Also have to drop one for a kicker. So who gets dropped there for let's start with that. Who gets dropped for a kicker out of those? Barron, you got an answer here? Who gets dropped?
Wait, why do you have to drop one for kicker? I guess whatever. We'll just
That's what he says. So we're gonna go with that. We're gonna go with that. Dropping one for a kicker.
Even though James Washington should get an uptick with what's his name? Rudolph.
Mason Rudolph.
Yeah.
I might drop him. He hasn't proven anything yet, but I've
Neither
also
has
dropped
Darwin,
Latavius
though.
Murray.
Neither is Darwin. Would you say that Darwin, just because of the
offense,
opportunity in the offense, you're going to keep him around?
We were pretty high on Damian Williams for the most part in the offseason until that injury, which obviously gave us a bit of pause. But can you see a world where Darwin Thompson does become a major role in this offense? I mean, LaShawn McCoy is already injured. He was injured last week. He's injured this week. Who knows what his status is going to be week to week. Darwin Thompson, I mean, he could be that lottery ticket that you get. Whereas James Washington, he could be, but he's still the number 3 in that offense right now, receiver-wise.
James Washington reeks of a player that's going to score a lot of points when he's on your bench and give you a very low score when he's in your lineup. So that's why you drop him. Barron had it right.
And we're dropping him for a kicker. And then we need one: John Ross, Lat Murray, Mecole Hardman, or Darwin. It's, to me, between Mecole and John Ross.
Yeah. I've been leaning towards John Ross. Again, I think I might be higher on him, but until he stops producing, I think that John Ross getting nuclear.
What do you think, Barron? John Ross or Mecole Hardman?
I would lean Ross myself.
Says?
I'm with the Baron again. I like Ross, man. Getting nuclear. And
especially in the PPR.
Eric Royo or Rojo.
Oh, that's my guy. That's Wink.
Wink. Yo, he says Burkhead or Mark Ingram. Mark Ingram all the way. Rex.
Whoa. Not
Mark
so
Ingram
fast, young.
all the way.
Not so fast, young man. Not with James White is out today.
Yeah, but sexy Rexy, man.
I told you James White was out.
The Patriots games, guys. Play the freaking
one running back in an offense that's going up against. That was the Canadian again. Against Kansas City, baby.
I love it.
Yeah, game on the ground. Come on.
I don't like Mark Ingram at all today. I think this is going to be a shootout. I see a scenario where we get a lot of Justice Hill today.
But if we put our name behind Rex Burkhead, and that shit does not work.
You cannot trust Bill Belichick with your fantasy backs. You
can't trust the guy.
Michelle's going to get on the rails. He's going to start playing well.
Higher percentage play is Mark Ingram, I'd say here.
Yeah.
And would you say the higher upside play is Burkhead or no, neutral?
No, I'd say neutral.
Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna. Okay, so there's the answer. It's
Wink. The Wink. The 3 boys say Ingram. I say Burkhead.
Thanks, guys. Roster Watch Nation for life. That is so
right,
us, baby. We literally got here because we are in Roster Watch's listener league, the Banana Hammock Boys. You guys, if you continue to follow, you will hear about us. Okay, but we have essentially birthed ourselves from the Roster Watch mold, and we're here to give thanks and give back. So thank you, Roster Watch. Follow them at Roster Watch. Go to rosterwatch.com, grab a pro membership. Also, guys, the Tradecast is coming. The Tradecast is coming. It is a do not miss podcast from Roster Watch every week. So get on it.
Let's just roll out the content. So every week you have your Trash Man, basically fantasy fallout. You have your waiver wire podcast. You're going to have your trade cast every week. You're going to go and you're going to have the Alex Dunlop. He comes out Saturday afternoon and he'll give you his best DFS plays. I love that because my routine now is I'll listen to the Roster Watch podcast in the afternoon and it rolls right into the SiriusXM show. You go, boom, you get 3 solid hours of Roster Watch. The podcasts are where it's at, man.
Yeah,
guys,
like it. The podcasts are good shower listening too.
It's great shower listening. We have literally 2 minutes left, 2.5 minutes, guys. Let's just rattle it quick.
Boom.
Yo, Mac, Devontae Freeman, Kerryon Johnson, need to standard league 100-yard bonus. Thank you, guys. Rock. Thank you so much. Says hurry.
Mac, carry on.
Boom. Shu Chang, Mark Andrews or Evan Ingram, standard. Ooh, that's tough with the foot for Mark Andrews. I'm going to go Evan Ingram. Just because of the injury concern. Shane?
I would go Mark Andrews because it's a standard. He's more of
an you got it from both of us. You got it from both of us. Brian again, Lindsey, Dorsett, or Ross. We like Lindsey today, but Says, what do you got? I like Lindsey, but I'm going to say Ross.
Yeah, I would agree with you. Ross is he's on fire right now. How can you go away from him? Lindsey is splitting carries with Hoyce Freeman, who's actually looked like the better back. So you got to press the red button and go John Ross.
John Ross. Nicholas Bisco, what up, dude? Cobb or Sanders, 0.5. So I don't know what Sanders this is.
He means
it's Miles.
No, I was just because he's going wide receivers here. So assume it's Emmanuel Sanders.
Emmanuel Sanders, or Randall Cobb. Ooh,
dude, Sanders, man, he's playing out of his mind.
Sanders. Okay, we're gonna go Sanders. Although we love Cobb, we're getting to the last two ones here. Joseph Villanueva, sup, dude. Wentz or Deshaun Watson, we got to go with the fact of where you drafted Deshaun Watson. Mm-hmm. You just got to plug him in. Byron Lambert was on earlier talking about the rushing upside. We have to go Deshaun. Alan giving me bogus info because I'm in his league.
Wink back at it again.
Hey, Wink, that probably happened.
There you go.
Guys have tuned in to the Flex Network Sunday morning start sits. Alan Seslowski, brother, at Alan Seslowski, hashtag season long says, and then we have at Sealy_Shane, and also everybody can find us at the Flex Network 1. Baron, your Twitter handle, hurry in 5 seconds.
You don't want it.
We don't want it. Hashtag we don't want it from Baron. Thank you, guys. We will be here for week 4 next Sunday. Also, guys, we have our Flex Finder podcast Friday night, where we will talk about the flex plays that we will give. You also might see Prison Matt next week. Last question, Ryan Morrow, Aguilar or David Montgomery in a flex full point PPR? I'm going to go both those guys suck. Start somebody else. No, I'm just
no.
Go with Aguilar? No, the running back. Okay, David Montgomery is the play, brother. We love you guys. Thank you so much. We are a nation.
Yep.
See you, boys.